Welcome back to Ottawa Church of Christ. Today I want to talk about one amazing book, which is called Ruth. And I want to take it from I don't want to focus on the physical too much, but I want to focus on the spiritual. And I really believe you're going to get some nice spiritual insights to understanding this book if you understand what the people's names mean. Elimelech, God is king. Naomi, beautiful. Mahalon, sickly. Chilion, wasting away. What names are these to give to your kids? Orpah, back of the neck. Ruth, companion. Mara means bitter. Boaz, strength. And Obed, a servant who worships. Now these are the names, these are the meanings of the names in which we have of these characters. Now let's go back and look at the book of Ruth. Elimelech, his name means God is king. Well, Elimelech is a hypocrite. He's a loser. Because you see, he leaves Bethlehem, he leaves Israel in the time of a famine because he doesn't have the faith to believe that God's going to take care of him. Think about this. All the rest of the Israelites are staying. He's going to Moab, the place where God says don't ever go because those are the enemies of us. So he goes to Moab and he takes his family leaving Israel because he's a hypocrite. He has no faith in God. Well, like father, like son, sickly and wasting away because they're going to follow after their dad's footsteps. So they're not going to have any spiritual strength at all. Too bad, because if they would have followed after their mom, Naomi, she's beautiful. Romans 10:17, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good tidings. Naomi, you need to understand, the beautiful that she is a spiritual beauty. But she's going to still follow after her husband because that's the wifely thing to do and to take care of her sons. So while they're over there, dad dies. He's not well blessed. Then, sickly and wasting away, get married. One marries Orpah and one marries Ruth. And then after 10 years, the two boys die with no children. Obviously, the family's not getting blessed at all. So Naomi says, I got to go back home. So she's preparing to go home, and Orpah and Ruth are going to follow her. Now, you need to understand, Naomi has got to be the mother-in-law of the year or of the century, because her two daughter-in-laws, who are Moabites, are still thinking of going with her to go back to Israel. She doesn't want them to come with her because of who she is. So she says, no, I'm not going to have any kids. So you're better off stay here with your own people. So Orpah turns and walks away. So we see the back of her neck. But Ruth is the companion, and she's going to stay. And what does Ruth say? Whoever your people are going to be my people. Your God, my God, and where you get buried, I'm going to get buried. So Ruth is totally sacrificial, totally dedicated to taking care of her mother-in-law, Naomi. When they get back to Israel, everybody recognizes her, but she says, no, I'm no longer Naomi, I am Mara, which means I'm very bitter for those years I spent in Moab. So Ruth takes care of Naomi because she's too old, so Ruth starts gleaning the fields, and along comes Boaz. He owns the fields, so he blesses her. He's the strength. He's the next kinsman for Naomi. So he's their redeemer. He opens up opportunities for Ruth to be very well blessed and to be able to take care of her mother-in-law. And then he proposes to her, but he has to allow the closest kin, the closest redeemer, to either purchase the land and marry Ruth or to give it over to Boaz. He obviously gives it over to Boaz, who is the strength. So then those two get married, and then they have a child, a servant who worships, and that's Obed. And I like to call this, Ruth, the gospel. And the reason why I call it the gospel is because inside of it is the gospel. Because the gospel is all about Jews and Gentiles coming together, if you read the book of Ephesians. It's all about Jews and Gentiles coming together, canceling the law, and running with the faith in Jesus Christ. Naomi represents the Jews. Ruth represents the Gentiles. Boaz, the strength, is your Christ-like figure. He is the Redeemer. And when Jew and Gentile come together in the family of Boaz, of Christ, What comes of that? Well, the church. That's Obed, a servant who worships. And that's what the church is all about. People of the world uniting in Christ, and they're worshipers of God. There's the Gospel of Ruth, written in the time of Judges. Why? To give us a vision. To give us a vision of what's going to happen in the future. So when Jesus comes along, we can see Ruth was pointing to everything in which Jesus builds when we look at the church. And that's the Gospel of Ruth. Thank you.